Hey friends, welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about neurodiversity in girls and women. The reason why is because there is a huge gap between neurodiversity with male and female counterparts or identifying as female. So with girls and women, we are more likely or go undiagnosed. And so there are a lot of women out there that are not diagnosed or maybe are misdiagnosed. And so I want to talk about some of the experience that neurodivergent women and girls may be having. So if you are an adult neurodivergent woman, you might have experienced the feeling of being invalidated and misunderstood growing up. You might have this false sense to conform to be normal. So, in other words, you're highly masking, but you've figured out different ways to cope and kind of white knuckle through, get through. And you've definitely come to a place where you study patterns in society and you study patterns in groups or with people, whether it's at school or with friends or in the family or, wherever it is, you study those patterns and you've figured out how to camouflage into those groups. But what will also end up happening is you analyze your social interactions, whether you're analyzing it while you're going through it or kind of think about how the social interactions are going to happen before you even begin the social interaction, or you very much analyze after the fact and you try and come up with different things that you could have said, different ways that you could have handled it, different reactions that you could have had to really fit in more or make yourself feel better or be better in some way. You also can be hyper aware, right? So if you are neurodivergent and you either A, you're not diagnosed, or B, you are diagnosed, there is this sense that you are super aware of the people around you, their face expressions, their body expressions. Maybe they have these micro expressions on their face, or you are so empathetic or psychic that you can actually feel their vibrations, you can feel their feelings coming off of them. And you are so hyper aware of the people around you, it's almost overwhelming. On the flip side of that, you can also be in a place where it's harder to read other people around you and you might miss some social cues, or you might see things that's going on, but you're really not sure what to do with it. You're not sure what you should do next, right? Or how you need to handle. You can see that people are uncomfortable, but you don't know why, and you don't know how to manage it. Or you know that someone is frustrated with you, but you don't know what caused it. So you might have missed some social cues. There's this other really funny aspect of you have a tendency to tell too much. So you want to bond with someone or you want to speak with someone, but you just tell them too much. And that to them might be misperceived of what you're feeling inside, right? So you might be feeling one way, but the other person is perceiving you a totally different way. And then you kind of analyze that and want to backtrack and almost change their perception of what you think they think you are or what you're doing. I hope this makes sense. Okay, so another thing that can be very common with being neurodivergent as a woman or a girl is having this very strong sense of justice and wanting things to be fair and right. So that can look like you want things to be honest. You want people to be honest. You just want people to tell you transparency. Like for me, I will tell you, the friendships and people that I have in my life where I don't have to guess what they're thinking and feeling, those are the ones that I value the most, simply because it's so hard for me to try and guess what people are about. And sometimes I figure it out too late. But also, things that are happening in the world that you find that are just unjust, it's very, very unsettling, to the point where you can get stress and anxiety over things that you feel are not right, right? You want things to be fair. There's this other part where, because you want to be fair, or you say too much, you also can be hyper vigilant. And this is where, if you're coming into a relationship or you're at work, they can speak about you as a force to be reckoned with. Some unkinder words, kind of a bitch, or you're too opinionated. It's kind of annoying, because really what you're trying to do is get things to be in order and also be spoken accurately, but it's perceived by other people maybe a little bit different than how you're intending it to be. You also might have the strong urge or need to tell the truth. A lot of time in the society, especially for speaking of neurotypicals, they don't always want to hear the truth. So that can cause some anxiety, right? Of really genuinely trying to connect and also speak your truth and have other people not want to hear it. It also can bother you if the truth is askewed in any way, meaning, okay, this is what happened, but it's not exactly what happened. There could be this sense that you have that you want to explain the whole truth so nothing is misperceived. And that could stem from being young and having a lot of misconceptions or misunderstanding to you. So what can happen as you grow up as a neurodivergent woman? You can be hypervigilant, you can be depleted, you can have some shame, and you're perceived as very smart, but because you're masking, camouflaging, you also are hiding your flaws, or what you perceive to be flaws, which, let me tell you, friends, it's exhausting. The other thing is, with neurodivergent women, we are just resilient. It's just like we will fall and pick ourselves back up, and fall and pick ourselves back up, and fall and pick ourselves back up, be completely exhausted, maybe have some bruises, some scrapes, and we'll pick ourselves back up and we'll do it again. We definitely have this mentality that if we fail, we will just come harder and try harder and try harder. We also have this thought that we can go at it alone. So what does this do? This causes a lot of stress, anxiety, overwhelm, frustration, and it can be very exhausting. What does that do? If this stuff is left unchecked, it can cause health problems, burnout, cortisol, adrenal fatigue, and you can learn to cope by escaping and overdoing things. For instance, instead of having one glass of wine at night after work, maybe you have a bottle. Instead of having one piece of chocolate, maybe you eat the whole bar. Instead of a serving of chips, the whole bag gets eaten. Or one show will turn into a binge fest, right? Going with that, because you're hyper aware, hyper vigilant, trying to analyze things, trying to fit in, getting exhausted, you might have days where you just feel blah. And those blah days, you want to seek comfort. So you want to stay in jammies, you maybe want to stay in bed or lounge around the house and just rest and relax, kind of recharge your batteries. So what is happening? We are living in a society where we are at a disadvantage. We have, to begin with, a cognitive variation, right? So that is happening in our brain. In addition, we have a lot of thought work that's going. Those thoughts might be causing a lot of discomfort. It might be causing a lot of struggle. It might be causing a lot of suffering in our lives. We're already at a disadvantage. Then when you speak about women and girls more often than not are not diagnosed or late diagnosed. So maybe some of you out there are watching this and you suspect you might be, but you don't know for sure. And if what I'm saying sounds like something that is rhyming true for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Now, number one, I do not treat, diagnose, and cure. I am a life and business coach. So I do have programs. You have a place where you belong. I've got business programs. I have a membership. All of the things, feel free to reach out. But going back into, see, this is what I'm talking about. ADHD, talk about one thing, got to bring it up around back to the first subject. So we are living in a society where we are at a disadvantage. Now let's speak about the women and girls situation. As far as neurodiversity goes throughout history, it's been studied by boys and men. There's also a spotlight on boys and men and neurodiversity. I will give you a clear example. Albert Einstein, Steve Jobs, Mark Twain, Mark Zuckerman. These are some neurodivergent men that have really been game changers throughout history and are very much recognized. But why do we not talk about women and the women that are really out there that are changing the world for the better? Like, why do people not talk about Emily Dickinson, right? Why do people not talk about world-class surgeons that are out there? Because our brain works differently. We can literally see things differently. So there's just not enough, publicity or research on girls and women that are really out there changing the world for the better. And I feel like that really genuinely needs to change. There's also a lot of issues with women in the workplace. Number one, whether you're neurodivergent or not neurodivergent, you're already paid less than men. Number two, if you're neurodivergent, you're usually paid less. In fact, I found some studies on Psychology Today that said because neurodivergent women are more empathic and psychic, we have this innate ability to be able to connect with others. Therefore, quite often will work 200 hours off the clock extra in addition every year compared to our male counterpart. So not only are we paid less, we're also working more. Interesting, right? Let's not get into what happens when we get home. But this is another thing is a lot of time our experience will be invalidated. Whether you're talking about a girl in school and what she is experiencing in school, or we're talking about a woman that is at work, or maybe a woman that owns a business and is struggling with her neurodiversity, a lot of time we will be told that it's just in our mind, or we just need to hire this or just use this planner or whatever it is, and it's not really validated the fact that we genuinely are at a disadvantage living in a neurotypical world. And so therefore we don't have more access to the things that we are needing to be able to help give our supports that we need to really tap into our strengths as much as men are. In addition, again, more women are treated harsher and have harsh criticism at work than their male counterparts. You can have two people that have the same exact diagnosis, yet it is more accepted with the men than it is with the women in the workplace. The other thing that's really interesting is neurodivergent women, more often than not, will lend their ear to help other people out. And so not only are they exhausted, stressed out, have anxiety. They might feel overwhelmed, frustrated, exhausted, but they're also taking on other people's because they have that component. And I'm not saying that that is wrong, that people go to them to have their ear. I'm just saying that it's more likely to have a neurodivergent woman be the one that is comforting you, whether it's at home or a friend or family members or at the workplace. So all of those kind of things are happening in the neurodivergent women's world, right? So what do we really do with this? And one of the things that I really wanted to do was the previous episodes that I have put really are a foundation that I'm laying out for you so you can start tackling some of your struggles, right? So episode number 2 and number 3 have to do with processing your feelings, including if you are taking on other people's feelings, right? Release what is yours that is ready to release, or release what is not yours. I would really like to encourage everybody to listen to episode number 2 and number 3 to really process and learn, implement how to process your feelings every day and throughout the day, because that is really what's going to help take the pressure off. The other thing is we really can get stuck in ruminating thoughts and cycles of overanalyzing or overthinking. And being able to really dive into the bots, which I've referred to several times. If you need to go back, it's the blue hair, the belief systems, opinions, thoughts, and stories that we tell ourselves. This being aware of our bots and really being able to pick them apart can help you reduce the time that you are ruminating in thought, right? Or that you're overthinking the things, or you're over strategizing, or you're over analyzing maybe a social event or a conversation that you have. The other thing that this really does is it helps you learn to trust yourself and listen to yourself. It helps you learn how to take better care of yourself. You also begin to accept yourself and who you are and all of your neurodiversity, all of the good, bad, beautiful, ugly, all of the things, the whole self. It also helps you be able to start the process of unmasking. Another thing that's really powerful is learning your boundaries, figuring out what is okay with you and what is not okay with you, and what are you going to do if something is happening that is not okay with you. Now, as we continue to go, you guys will notice that I'm going to be rolling out some boundary stuff, rolling out how do we unmask, what does it look like, all of the good and juicy things. I am so looking forward to having all of you join us and continue to join us. Please do comment and share if you feel like you found something useful here and you want to share with a friend or a family member. Okay, I love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.